Namaskar. Welcome to this first session of the second Adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Gita. Second Adhyaya is called the Sankhya Yoga, which consists of the path of knowledge. We start with our gratitude towards the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. We pray to this Guru Shishya Parampara through which this knowledge is transferred for generations so as to reach us now. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn the scriptures and share this understanding with you. We start with a prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So Bhagavad Gita, as you all know, is a dialogue. It's a beautiful dialogue between none other than Lord Krishna and Arjuna in the battlefield of Mahabharata. It is considered to be the summary of the Upanishada, which is also called the Vedanta because it is the last part of the Veda, the conclusive part of the Veda and its philosophy. It shows the way of life to all of us, the entire humanity. It is not a text which is created for one particular religion, but it is a text of the Vedic Sanatana Dharma, the eternal righteous way of life. And this is organized by Sri Veda Vyasa into 18 Adhyayas or 18 chapters, about 700 verses of this Gita Ji. The main subject of Gita Ji, as you all know, is the end of all the pain, sufferings, Shoka Nivrutti. And this pain and sufferings is out of Moha Mamata, the delusion. That is also called as a kind of an optical illusion that is created in this world according to the Lord. And the Mula, the root of this is the Ajnana, the ignorance. And the second main subject is eternal bliss. We all seek happiness, but we all want eternal happiness. We always want to be happy. We don't want any dukkha in our life. And this Paramananda is the main subject matter of Gita Ji. And the way Bhagavan reveals this is through the revealing our own self, our own true self, which is also called the Atma Jnana. That is the final goal. And this creates a freedom from all our limitations to these limited things like our body, our mind, our thoughts, our intellect, all the limits that we have in this world. It gives us this freedom, this moksha, liberates us from all this chakra of janma, bandhana, sansara, death, birth, rebirth, death, etc. And it gives us the vision of the one essence that is behind this entire existence, which is the formation or the adhisthana of the jiva, all the beings, which is also the adhisthana, the essence of all the things that we see in this world, the jagata, and the adhisthana of Ishvara, all these personal gods behind which the essence is one, Aikya Gnana, that oneness is what is the crux of the teaching of Vedanta. And Gita Ji tells us that there are different paths to the divine sadhana. The first and the foremost is the Karma Yoga. We are all engrossed in our actions all throughout the day. And that is through these same actions that we have to connect to the divine and devote to the divine and finally attain the divine. That is the path of action, Karma Yoga. The second path is the path of devotion, the Bhakti Yoga. But in the vision of the Lord, karma and bhakti, they go hand in hand. In the karma, bhakti has to be there. Without bhakti, there cannot be a karma. Without devotion, we cannot do karma yoga. And bhakti involves some or the other actions. Either it is a mansik, sharirik or vachik actions. So bhakti yoga also involves karma. And that's why karma and bhakti, according to the Lord, is one and the same. But for the understanding of us, because of our different predispositions, our own, some people are more focused towards karma, they are karma asakta, they are attached to karma. Some people are more devoted, they are all emotional people, they attach their mind to the Lord, they devote to the Lord. And then finally the Gnana Yoga, which is after purification by karma and bhakti, we need to understand the Atma Gnana, the Gnana, the Aikya Gnana, and this is the only way to attain to the divine according to Vedanta. In a nutshell, Bhagavan describes two paths or two committed lifestyles for us. One is the path of the householder, even remaining in the house, doing our own duties, our own karma, we can attain the supreme divinity, the ultimate goal of the mankind, which is the path of householder, the pravritti marga, where karma and bhakti are the main sadhana. And of course, after that, gnana is also important. Whereas the other path is the path of renunciation, the sannyasa marga, where we renounce all the worldly duties. And then on this path also, gnana yoga is important for us, for the sannyasi to reach to the divine. For them also, they need to do this. So Srimad Bhagavad Gita is organized. The first Adhyaya sets the stage for what is going to be revealed in the second Adhyaya. Arjuna's sorrow, despair at seeing his own relatives, his own near and dear ones in the opponent party or the army. And then Arjuna develops Vishada, and that's why it is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. That's the stage which is set for the Gnana that Bhagavan is going to reveal. The second Adhyaya, the Sankhya Yoga, is considered to be the summary of the Bhagavad Gita, because here the Bhagavan gives us the divine knowledge, the Gnana Updesha, and then talks about the path of action, the Karma Yoga, and finally it describes the attributes of the wise person who has attained this wisdom, the Gnani Purusha, who is also called the Sthita Prajna, and shows the attributes, how he can become and what is a Sthita Prajna. From the 13th to the 17th Adhyayas, Bhagavan gives a detailed description of all the different subjects. And finally, in the 18th Adhyaya, again summarizes Bhagavad Gita at a length and talks about this Gnana, Karma, Bhakti, Surrender, Nivrutti, Pravrutti, all these things Bhagavan talks. So let us recapitulate the first Adhyaya, the Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the first 11 shlokas. Duryodhana, he describes all the great warriors in the opponent party as well as his own, and talks about his own ego and says that, how he is overconfident about winning this war. From the 12th to the 19th shlokas, the conches are blown on both the sides, and this signifies the beginning of the war of the Mahabharata. And then Arjuna wants to see his Kaurava army, the opponent army, his own opponent army, and that's why he asks his charioteer, Lord Shree Krishna, to take him to the center of the battlefield, and so that he can see them properly. And when Arjuna sees all this opponent army, he gets attached to them. He thinks, how can I kill my own brothers, my own guru, my own Bhishma, Drona, all these, how can I kill them? And with this attachment, he develops moha, delusion. He develops shoka, sadness, and he makes very unbefitting statements which does not befit an ace archer like Arjuna, a Kshatriya and an ace archer. So this is a stage which is set, and the second Adhyaya begins. The first shloka of the second Adhyaya describes Arjuna's condition, which is the prelude to Bhagavan's opening statements in the Gita Ji. Here Sanjay, who is describing or relaying this commentary, which is seeing on the Mahabharata battlefield, which is Divya Chakshu that has been given to him by none other than revered Lord Sri Ved Vyasa. And with this Chakshu, he is seeing what is happening on the 10th day of the battle. He is describing this to Dhritarashtra, who is blind, otherwise unable to see, who did not accept to get this Divya Chakshu. And the first shloka, Sanjaya Uvacha Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtham Ashrupurna Kulekshanam Vishidantamidam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudana. So here is describing Arjuna's condition. He says, Tam Tatha Kripaya Avishtham. Arjuna, who is engulfed with a lot of compassion, and this compassion is not the real compassion, but it is because of the delusion, the moha, which he has got because of the attachment that he has with his own relatives. And that is why he has a lot of compassion, which is not a true compassion. Ashrupurna Kula Ikshanam. His eyes are filled with tears because of his sadness, because he is in two minds. He doesn't know what to do. He came to engage into a war with Arjuna because they had done a lot of injustice to him, and they thought that this was the Dharma Yuddha that they need to do. But now he is filled with a lot of tears. He doesn't know what to do. Vishidantam idam vakya uvacha Madhusudana. So through this Arjuna, who is Vishidantam, who is in despair, Shree Krishna, Madhusudana is the name of Lord Krishna. It is a salutation to Krishna, because Madhu was a demon whom Krishna killed, and that's why his name was Madhusudana. Krishna says these words. So the second verse is where Bhagavan, Shri Krishna, makes an opening statement, and he tells Arjuna, your attitude is not proper. Shri Bhagavan Kutastva kashmalamidam Vishame samupasthitam Anarya justam asvargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna. So Bhagavan says, Kutaha tva kashmala idam. How did you manage to get this kind of a kashmal? Kashmal means some kind of an impurity, despair, sadness, which generally arises out of the ignorance of our own self. He says, how do you manage to get this? Vishame samupasthitam. Bhagavan says, Vishame, at this point, at this time in the battlefield, when the war is just about to going to start and you have to fight, at this point, how can you develop this kind of a despair, Arjuna? He says, Anarya justam. This does not befit you, does not befit an Aryan like you, who is an upright. Aryan means an upright person who does what needs to be done. That person is called an Aryan. We are known to be from the Aryan race. And he says, this does not befit you as an Aryan, as a Kshatriya. This does not befit you. Aswargyam. This will also not give you a better onward journey to heaven. After your death also, you will not get an onward journey, a better place to live. Bhagavan says, Akirtikaram, Arjuna. Oh Arjuna, this will also not add to your fame or a reputation. You are an ace archer, one of the best archers known. And this, by the way you are wanting to go away, not fighting the war, and you are developing this kind of a moha, shoka, vishada, this will not add to your reputation as well. In the third verse, Bhagavan uses a little bit harsher words on Arjuna, because he sees that Arjuna, there is no, after saying these words, there was no response. He says, Klaibyam asmagamah partha naitattvayupapadhyate shudram hradaya daurbalyam tyaktvottishta parantapa. Bhagavan says, Klaibyam asmagamah partha. Oh Partha means Prutha Putra. Arjuna, it's a salutation for Arjuna, who is son of Kunti. She is also her another name is Prutha. Klaibya masmagama. Don't be Klaibya. Klaibya means eunuch, not a man, not a woman. So Bhagavan is telling Arjuna using very harsh words. He says, don't be unmanly. Arjuna, this does not befit you. Na etattvai upapadyate. This kind of attitude, this cowardly attitude, this kind of an unmanly attitude does not befit you. Says Tyaktva Shudram Hradaya Daurbalyam. This kind of weak-minded emotions that are arising from your heart, from your Hradaya Daurbalya, these emotions, weak-minded emotions, let go of them. Bhagavan says, Tyaktva, don't allow it to come into your mind. Don't allow these negative thoughts to come into your mind. Uttishta, hey Parantapa. Bhagavan says, oh strong man. Parantapa means one who does Parantapayanti, means one who is giving heed to the others, is so strong. Arjuna was one of the strongest warriors actually. He is such an ace archer. And that's why Bhagavan tells him that you have already destroyed so many enemies so far. Now you have to get up. Uttishta. Oh Arjuna, get up. Do your duty. Bhagavan is almost like ordering Arjuna to get up and perform his duty to fight this Dharma Yuddha, this war for which Arjuna already had come, and now he's developed despair, delusion, moha, mamata, and from this Bhagavan wants him to get out of this and fight this war. So Arjuna's situation is that of a pain, misery, sorrow. He does not know what to do, and this is kind of a situation we all come across in our life very frequently. It's kind of dukkha, shoka, and our scriptures, our Guruji tells us that this kind of pain, miseries is effect of our own karmas. It is the theory of our karma phala theory, where whatever actions we have done in the past, maybe in this life or in the previous life, we will get the same karma phala at some point of time. And that's why we should not blame it to others. The others who give this, maybe some kind of a nimitta. They may be the instrumental cause for giving us this pain, dukkha. Sometimes we blame the Lord or the God for giving us this kind of pain. Why me, Bhagwan? Why me? We tell him so often. But we must understand that it is not given to us from any person or even from the God. It is our own karma which is giving us this karma phala. And that's why whenever we get this kind of despair, shoka, we all must remember that God always thinks good for all of us. He is a hit chintaka. But every situation that is created in our life is definitely for our growth. If we even remember our own experiences of the past, the most difficult times that we have been in has been for our growth. We have learned something and then we have become a better person. We have gone on a better path. And that's why all these situations created in our life is for growth. So whenever a situation comes, there are only few people who get alerted and then they take care of the situation. But then if this situation is not tackled, then it leads to a problem. And then many people have to wake up. There is no other option. When it assumes a proportion of a problem, then we need to wake up and find a solution. And even if we don't find a solution to this, we keep sleeping, then what happens is a crisis in our life. And this crisis, then there is no option for us to wake up. Here Arjuna he is in a situation where he has this kind of a crisis in his life. He wants some kind of a understanding from the Lord. His charioteer is none other than Lord Krishna, to whom he is asking. So Arjuna is now giving very different kinds of reasons, arguments, and this is what happens when a person who is in moha or delusion, shoka, tries to give a lot of arguments. Arjuna uvacha katham bhishmamaham sankhye dronam cha madhusudana ishubhihi pratiyotsyami pujahar varisudana. Oh Madhusudana, destroyer of Madhu. Madhu was a demon, but Madhu also means, another meaning is it is a honey. And honey means it is sweet. And our own pride, our own ego, our own, is so sweet that we always give reasons to justify and defend our ego. These are called all our ego defense systems that we have in our mind. This is what Arjuna is doing here. He says, Katham Bhishma Maham Sankhye Dronam Cha. Hey Madhusudana, how can I kill Bhishma and Drona in the battlefield? He says, Ishubhihi Pratiyotsami. They are fighting with me with the arrows. Ishubhihi. How can I kill them? They are my respected, revered teachers. They have been my grandfather. They have been my Pitamaha, Saman, very revered people. How can I kill them? He says, Puja Har Arisudana. Hey Arisudana, Ari. Word means enemies, Shatru, Mitra, Ari. These are the antonyms. So he says, Hey Arisudana, oh destroyer of Krishna, destroyer of the enemies, they are worthy of my puja har. They are worthy of my devotion. They are so revered, they are so respected. How can I even think of killing them? He tells Krishna. And again Arjuna tries to clarify and justify his position. He says, and now the meter of these shlokas changes from the Anushtup Chandaha to the Trishtup Chandaha. Guruna hatva hi mahanubhavan Shreyo bhoktum bhekshamapi haloke Hatvartha kamanstu guru nihaiva Bunjiya bhogan rudira pradigdhan. He says, Ihaloke Shreya bhoktum bheksham. In this world, it is much better. Bheksham. Bheksham means bhiksha, to beg for alms. He says, Arjuna thinks now that it is better to run away. It is better to renounce this battlefield. He thinks of going away and become a renunciate. So that is a kind of escapist, bhagedu vritti, escapist attitude that has come to him. Arjuna, he says, Guru na hatva hi mahanubhavan. Then killing my great teachers who are such great mahanubhavan, I don't want to kill them. Instead, it's better to run away from this battlefield, to renunciate, to become a renunciate. He says, Hatva gurun artha kaman ahiyava. By killing my gurus, I shall only gain artha and kama. These are all the worldly possessions that we all strive for all throughout the day and night. Artha kama. These are two of the four purusharthas that we all, the end to which we all do all our activities in life. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. The artha and kama are the most common ones that we are employed during our lifetime. And our shastras tell us to do this with the dharma purushartha, so that it is done with the right attitude. And then finally, we have to transcend this and desire for the moksha purushartha and become a mumukshu, a seeker who wants to understand the reality of this existence. Coming back to this verse, Arjuna says, to bhunjiya bhogan rudira pratignan. By killing these gurus, I don't want to live this world and enjoy all these possessions, material pleasures which will be stained with blood. I will always remember, even if I get this kingdom, all these material wealth, all these possessions, this will all be stained with the blood of my guru, my respected teachers, my cousins, and all my other relatives. I don't want this. Instead, it is better that I run away, I renunciate, renounce this world and beg for alms. So that shows that now Arjuna is developing a vairagya towards this life. And Arjuna then in the next shloka shows his dilemma. Na chaitadvigna kataranno gariyo yadva jayema yadivano jayeyuhu yaneva hatva na jijivishama steva sthitaha pramukhe dhatra rashtraha. Arjuna says, Nacha etat dvigna katarannaha gariyaha. Out of these two, I don't know, we don't know what is better for us. He gives two options. Yat vajayema, whether we win over them, or yadi vana jayeyuhu, or they win over us. Either we win or they win. These are two options of the war. He says, out of this, I don't know what is better for us. Does not mean that it is having a fear that he will not be able to kill them, but he is in a moha, he is in a delusion. He doesn't know whether to fight or not to fight. These are the two options, but here he is so confused that he puts up whether the eva Dhritarashtra avastitaha pramukhe, these sons of Dhritarashtra, those are all the Kauravas are standing in front of us for war, in front of us. Now the war is about to begin. He says, Yaneva hatva na jijivishama. After killing them, I don't even wish to jijivisha. Yes, we say we the desire to live. He says, Na jijivishama. I won't have any desire to live after I kill them. So there is no point fighting the battle. He is trying to tell Shree Krishna. But finally, what good thing happens to Arjuna? Because he was Arjuna, all with the Daivi Sampatti, he understands his limitation and surrenders to Lord Krishna. Karpanya doshopahata swabhavaha pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha yachreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. He says, Karpanya dosha pahata swabhava. I am filled with Karpana dosha and pahata swabhava, faint-heartedness, these negative, weak emotions in my heart. And Karpanya Kripana will come to what is the meaning of Kripan. Pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha. I am asking you as I am confused about my dharma. I don't know what is my right duty, what I should do. I am sammudha, I am confused, I am deluded. That's why I'm pruchhami tvam. I'm asking you, hey Lord Krishna, yat shreya syat nishchitam bruhi tanme. Whatever is best, definitely the most shreya. Shreya means most beneficial, most kalyankari. There are two types of purushartha. One is called the preya purushartha. One is called the shreya purushartha. The preya purushartha is our worldly material possessions, all our wealth, our reputation, all our fame, all our beauty, all our possessions, everything are all the preya purushartha. Whereas the shreya purushartha is the reality, the eternal wealth or the spiritual wealth. This is called the shreya purushartha. So Bhagavan Arjuna is telling Bhagavan, shreya syat nishchitam bruhitan me. You tell me what is the most beneficial to me out of all this. Shishyasteham. Bhagavan Arjuna tells Bhagavan Shri Krishna that I want to become your disciple. Please accept me as your student, as your disciple. Shishyasteham. He surrenders to the Lord and he says, Shadimam, you teach me, you govern me, you give me updesha, you tell me. He says, Tvam prapannam, I surrender to you, O Lord Krishna. You are the, all sarvagna, you are the all-knower. Please tell me what is the best for me in this given situation. I have no idea what to do at this point of time. So Shishyasteham, this is a very important shloka of Bhagavad Gita, because here Arjuna accepts to become a disciple, to become a student of Lord Krishna. So far they were sakas, they were the closest of friends for so many years before the battle of Mahabharata. They were together right from childhood, but they were all both were friends. And here now Arjuna accepts to be a disciple, and this is very important. We must accept our ignorance. We must accept that we don't know this. We need to know this. What our scriptures would tell. With this, we have to go to our Guru, and we have to, with pranam, we have to surrender to our Guru to learn this knowledge of our own self, which is hidden in our scriptures, and this is very important. Karpanya dosha, when Arjuna uses this word krupana. Krupana actually means a miser, one who does not want to let go, who is a very miser, wants to hold everything, possess everything. But actually, in the Shastras, krupana word has a very, very deep meaning. In Brihadaranya Upanishada, Yagnavalkya tells Gargi that krupana is a person who does not attain the ultimate goal of the life. And according to our Vedanta Shastra, the ultimate goal of our life is to understand that one tattva which binds everything, that one essence which binds everything. And if we do not understand that, what is that one essence, what is that reality of the existence beyond which we see all these names and forms, beyond which, what is that which is not seen by us, what is that unseen behind all these that we see, that is the tattva. If we do not understand this, then we are a krupana. If we die without understanding this tattva, then we are krupana. That is what our Upanishads tell us. So acceptance is the first step to our change, which Shishya, and we have to accept that we don't know this. And here Arjuna accepts to be a Shishya, a disciple, and that's very, very important for him to change his understanding. And the role of the Guru is also very important, because Guru shows us the real way forward. And the Guru-Shishya relationship is a mutually respectful and a loving relationship with a lot of faith in the Guru. And the desire or jignasa is the first step towards learning this reality, the existence. And here Arjuna shows that he has this kind of a desire, he has a jignasa, and that's why he is surrendering to the Lord. And surrender is very, very important for us to develop knowledge, because only then we will be, surrender is essentially we are surrendering our ego. And unless we surrender our ego and know and tell the Guru that we don't know this, please give me the guidance, please show me the light of the knowledge, then only Guru will spark that spark of knowledge inside us. The 8th verse clearly shows Arjuna's confusion and his vairagya, his dispassion. Nahi prapashyami mamapanudhyar yachokamuchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhuma vasapatna mruddham rajyam suranam apichadhipatyam. Nahi prapashyami. Arjuna says, Bhagavan, I cannot see anything. Mama shokam uchoshanam indriyanam apanidhyat. I can't see anything what can relieve me of my sadness, which has dried up all my senses. I developed this vairagya towards this war, towards my people. I want to run away and I'm feeling so sad, but how can I cannot see anything that which can take me away from this. He says, in this world, avapya bhuma sapatnam ruddham rajyam suranam apitadipadyam. In this world, after winning an unchallenged and a prosperous kingdom, and even defeating all the devas and getting the lordship over all the devas, I don't see that I can be relieved of my sadness. I don't see a way. I can't see any solution. Oh Lord Krishna, you please help me. You please guide me. This kind of dispassion, vairagya, is very important for us to understand what is the kind of vairagya. Here Arjuna is developing a vairagya, is a kind of out of moha. It's a very temporary vairagya, which we call as a smashana vairagya. It's a temporary vairagya. It's not the real vairagya. So complete surrender is definitely not possible without vairagya. So some kind of vairagya is essential before we can surrender. And vairagya is a mature internal condition of our mind. It's a maturity of our mind, a state of composure with the right understanding in all these dualities of the world. It comes only with viveka. Viveka means that right discriminative intellect, which will be able to discriminate what is good for us, what is not good for us, what is right, what I should do, what I should not do. This kind of viveka, only with this understanding we can develop a vairagya. So viveka is the first step before vairagya. And this viveka tells us that these worldly objects have an importance, yes, but to a limit. What is, if they are not the completely important for me, and this kind of mahatva buddhi in the worldly objects will gradually reduce, because after all our possessions, we don't get eternal happiness. This is our own experience. And this tells us that there is a limit to what our worldly objects or our material relationships or our possessions can help us or to give us happiness. With this, it is of course not escapism, it is not running away from the world, but it's a very matured internal condition. And this is not important for my goals. I need to understand that these are the things which will not take me to my eternal or ultimate goal. And this helps us to loosen our grip on our strong likes and dislikes, raga, dvesha, which Bhagavan is going to talk about in the second Adhyaya later part and in many other parts of Geeta ji. And with this, I must understand to let go, because this gives me happiness and gives me the peace of mind. In the 9th Shloka, Arjuna clearly says that I don't want to fight, and this is what Sanjay is describing to Dhritarashtra. Eva muktva rishi kesham gudakesha parantapa Nayotsya iti govindam uktva tushnim babhuvaha. So evam Gudakesha Rishikesham uktva. Arjuna, who is also called Gudakesha. Gudakesha means he has conquered over the sleep, who has, he's very alert, he's very awake, he's agile. Gudakesha also means curly hair. Arjuna had some curly hair. Rishikesha. Rishikesha is the name of Krishna. The salutation is Krishna because Rishikesha means the Lord of the senses, who has conquered all the senses. And that's why he's called Rishikesha. So Arjuna tells Krishna, Nayotsya. He says, I will not fight this war. He makes it very clear to Krishna that now I've decided that I will not fight this war. And what he does, Iti Govinda Muktva, he says so to Krishna, to Shrim Babhuvaha. And then he becomes silent, becomes quiet. He knows not, I have given all the arguments for not fighting the war. I've already told Krishna that I'm confused, I don't know what to do. And now only if he becomes silent, then Lord Krishna can start to speak. So with this, Arjuna becomes quiet and waits for Lord Krishna to start speaking. So this is being described by Sanjay to Dhritarashtra. He says, Tamu vacha rishikeshaha prahasanniva bharata senayorubhayor madhye vishidantamidam vachaha. So here Lord Krishna is now preparing to start his message. Sanjay tells Dhritarashtra, Ho Bharata, who is from the Bharata dynasty, Tama Rishikesha Uvacha, to Arjuna, Lord Krishna now speaks, Prahasanniva Iva, as if he's smiling. And there are a lot of people, or a lot of people who have written about Geeta ji, commentaries on Geeta ji have said, why Krishna, as if he's smiling, he starts his message. Probably his personality is like that, he always keeps smiling. Or maybe he is now feeling that the time has come, that I want to relieve Arjuna of his Shloka, Moha, that right opportunity has come, that my prayojana, that my purpose of having this Krishna Avtara has come, but I want to give this sermon of the knowledge of the eternal self to all this Jiva, entire humanity through Bhagavad Gita. That time has come. That's why Bhagavan is now as if he's smiling. It's a smile, he's not laughing because Arjuna is very sad. Bhagavan doesn't want to laugh, but as if he's smiling a little bit, he says, Senayo Ubhayor Madre, from the center of both the armies, they are both standing in the center. On one side is the Kaurava army, on one side is the Pandava army. Vishidantam Midam Vachaha, who is sad, to that Arjuna who is Vishidantam, who is sad, very sad, Krishna, Midam Vachaha, Krishna starts his sermons. So now the teachings of the Krishna start, the main knowledge part, the Sankhya Yoga, the real knowledge Bhagavan is going to give in the following next 20 shlokas. This forms the crux of the Upanishada, Gnana, and the entire teachings of all our Vedas, Upanishadas, Vedanta, and Bhagavad Gita. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyanan Vashochastvam Pragnavadanshcha Bhashase Gatasuna Gatasunshcha Nanushochanti Panditaha. So this is a very beautiful, the opening verse where he really, with a kind of an axe, he actually makes a kind of a, major impact on Arjuna. He says, Tvam ashochyana nanvashochaha. You are feeling, Arjuna, you are feeling sad for something which is not worth feeling sad about. And says, Pragnavadanshcha bhashase. And you are speaking like a wise man. You are giving all these flowery excuses, justifications. You speak like a wise man that, you don't want to fight your gurus, your relatives. But Bhagavan says, Gatasuna cha agatasuna. For those who are Gatasuna, those who have left us, those who have already died, and Agatasuna, those who are still here, but those who are going to die in the future, for these people, Nanushocanti Panditaha, Panditaha na Anushochanti, wise men do not grieve. Bhagavan says there is no reason for you to grieve, Arjuna. For people who have died or people who are with us, your gurus, your respected teachers, wise men do not grieve. If you have wisdom, there is no need to grieve. There is no sadness. If you are sad, that means you don't have wisdom. Arjuna, Bhagavan says, both these things, wisdom and sadness, do not go hand in hand. If you have real wisdom, there is no reason for you to feel sad. So life is full of pain, sufferings. At every step of our life, we have a lot of news coming in different areas, how we react to this news. But Gita ji shows us the solution for the relief of all the shoka, dukkha. And it is, Guruji tells us that the main causes of pain and suffering in our life, the common cause, the root cause, which is samanya, which is sadharan cause, or which is same for everyone, is, our Shastras tell us, it is the ignorance of our own self, the Atma Swarupa Ajnana, that is the sadharan cause. But in situations, in events, we get the special cause or the Vishesha Karana based on the situation or the Paristhiti, which makes us upset, which makes us sadful, which makes us, it could be anything. It could be illness, it could be disease, it could be a fear, it could be a reality. If something happens, someone tells us something disrespectful and we become upset. It could be anything. That situation, a Paristhiti could be anything. And that's why there can be two types of solutions. One is a temporary solution, which is a Vyavharik Samadhana, worldly solution, to just calm us down during that part. What we normally do, somebody tells something, okay, don't get upset, this can happen, this, that, the other, and these are the temporary solutions. But the Param Samadhana, the permanent solution, which Gita ji tells us, is to understand this Atma Jnana, to know your own real self, and that gives a permanent solution to all our problems. And this comes only by understanding that changeless essence behind all that we see as changing in this world, in these people, in this, all these other animals, birds, everywhere, whatever in nature we see, all the changes behind that. If we understand that changeless being, that existence, that tattva, and this essentially is called, in our scriptures, it is called the Atma Anatma Viveka. And that is what Bhagavan is going to do in the next 20 shlokas. He is very clearly showing what is Atma, what is Anatma. Anatma means anything that is not the Atma, it is called Anatma. This is how we differentiate in our scriptures. And this clear differentiation, most of the problems happen because both these get mixed. I believe that I am this Atma as well as I am the Anatma. I am the body, mind, soul, everything becomes mixed. That's why there's all this confusion happens. And our scriptures tell us clearly what is Atma, what is Anatma. I must understand that I am not the Anatma, but I am the Atma. So this understanding relieves us of all the pains and miseries. And it also tells us that death is a certainty which cannot be changed. Bhagavan in the next ensuing shlokas is going to describe this very clearly. And he starts with the first shloka. He says, Natve vaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha nachaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatah param. Bhagavan says we are all eternal. He's talking about that Sat Swarupa, that Atma Swarupa. You can give it different names, but it is that essence of the existence. And that it could be called Sat, it could be called Tat Swarupa, it could be called Nitya, it could be called Atma. On a universal basis, it is called Brahma by Vedanta. Anything we call it, but it is the essence of the existence. And Bhagavan says it is eternal. This essence is eternal. Bhagavan says, Aham natu eva. There was no time that I was not there. He's talking about from the Ishvara perspective. He says, there was no time. Ishvara is eternal, is always there. Jatu natvam asam. And there was no time that you were also not there as a Jiva, Arjuna. And from that perspective, he's talking about all the Jivas, that all the Jivas are also eternal. There was no time that you are not there. Naime janadhipaha, all these kings, all these Jagata, all these other people, there was no time that they were also not there. They have always been there. Bhagavan says, Nacha eva na bhavishyamaha. And there won't be any time in the future that they will not be there. They will always be there in the future. So, sarve vayamata param, we shall all always be present, and we are all eternal. We are all Sat Swarupa. We are all Nitya. That is what Bhagavan is trying to tell in the opening verse of this Atma Jnana Updesha. And why don't wise grieve? Because they not only know the Atman, but they also know the non-Atman, the Anatma very clearly. And Bhagavan is describing here the different kinds of the stages of our body, our physical body goes through. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhirastatra namuhyati. Bhagavan says, Dehina asmin yatha dehe. For that Dehi is the Jivatma, the indweller of the body, one who owns this body. For that Dehi, this body undergoes changes from Kaumara Avastha, the childhood, Yauvana, the adulthood, and Jara, the old age. So all these are the changes that the body goes through. We also can ever remember that when I was a child, I was like this. when I became a young adult, I was like this. In my old age, I will become like this. So, but that I remains the same in all these different stages of my life. So that body keeps on changing. But when I talk about I was the same, I am the same now today, and I am going to be the same in the future. That I does not change. And then Bhagavan says, Tatha Dehantara Prapti. And then there is a change at the time of the death. When the physical body comes to an end, there is a change to another body. And in the eyes of the Lord, this change is a very similar change as the body undergoes different vikara, shad vikara, as it is said. There are 6 vikaras that the body undergoes in this life. Dhira tatrana muhyati, the wise man, the dhira purusha, the wise people who have seen this, to those who have this wisdom, they are not diluted, they don't do moha. And in this body, because it keeps changing, the body keeps changing, but the owner, the dehi, the atma, the soul, does not keep changing. It remains the one behind this. And this understanding is very clear with the wise people, dhira purusha. So Bhagavan talks about the death. Death itself is a very big event for us, and most of the times the most important event for us to grieve very severely. If you see on a collective basis, the death itself is not a very big event. This is how our Guruji teaches us that, when we read the newspapers and we see that there was an accident and about 15 people died in a bus accident, we probably feel, oh my God. And then we read a little bit and then we go to the next news, and then it really doesn't, we don't grieve about it. We don't feel sorrow about it. It's not even so many deaths on a large scale. In a COVID pandemic now, there are more than 5 million deaths around. We don't feel that, grief unless it affects our own, person whom we know clearly, or a person who is attached to us, or is known to us, or is my dear and near ones. Then on an individual basis, death becomes a very, very big event for us to grieve. And that's why understanding is that it is how we respond to it rather than the event itself which determines our response and the grief. So death is essentially what Bhagavan tells us is of our physical body, and we are not our physical body. Bhagavan tries to tell us Stula Sharira is what scriptures tell us, that is the physical body which comes to an end at the time of death. But there is an inner body, inner being of ours, which is also called the Sukshma Sharira, which consists of all the Indriyas, the Dasa Indriya, Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara, Antakarana. All this continues into another body at the time of death of the physical body. So Sukshma Sharira has a gati. It goes from one body, changes at the time, and goes to another body with all the samskaras, all our karmas, sanskaras, punya, papa, everything goes to another body. And then there is a third type of body which is called the Karana Sharira. In our scriptures, causal body, which is the root cause of all this Janma, Karma, Sansara, which we are not going to go details. But what our Shastras tell us, that beyond all these 3 bodies, Sharira Traya, there is this Atma. And this is Atma, it encompasses the entire, all the bodies. It is the observer, it is the seer, it is the Sakshi Swarupa. It does not get attached to any of these bodies. There is no change, it is eternal, there is no birth, there is no death, it is a complete eternal. So this is the understanding that our scriptures give us. But Arjuna must be feeling that Bhagavan is talking about death and all this, but what about life? I have to live here and fight with my own relatives, my own respected ones. What do I do in life? Bhagavan says, endure this life. He says, the ups and downs are part of life. You must endure this life with sahanshilta, with titiksha. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkha daha agamapayino nityam stantitikshasva bharata. So here Bhagavan tells Arjuna, hey Kaunteya, oh Kunti Putra, Kunti she is a very brave lady, she is a very, very sharp, very intellectual lady, and Arjuna is Kunti's putra. So Bhagavan is trying to tell Arjuna that you are also intelligent. You must try and understand this, that matra sparshastu, when the sense organs, all over indriya, when they come in contact with these objects, the vishaya in the world, then we get all this information and the knowledge of all these objects, things, whatever colors, roop, all this through all over indriya. There are 5 indriyas, the jnanendriyas through which sparsha, sabda, the Chakshu Indriya, the Shrotriya Indriya, the Tvagendriya, the Rasanendriya, and the Granendriya. All these 5 Indriyas, we catch all these, the objects, when they come in contact with the 5 Vishayas. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. All these 5 objects, when they come in contact with this, then the information or the knowledge is imbibed. And this kind of knowledge will be the knowledge of the dualities of this world, like Shita, Ushna. Shita, Ushna means we feel heat, we feel cold. This is all what our physical body experiences or has the experience. But we also experience the inner feelings, the Sukha, Dukkha, which our inner mind or our inner being feels or experiences, like pleasure, pain. These are not physical things, which are very sukshma or subtle feelings, which also our inner mind experiences. Bhagavan says, Agama paina anityaha tan titikshasva. They come and go, they are anitya. So that's why you must titikshasva tan. That's why you must endure them. Bhagavan says this is the nature of the dualities of the world, and that's why do whatever best you can to avoid this titiksha. If there is a lot of cold, then you can wear some woolens, wear some sweaters, cover your face, cover your ears, cover your scalp, take care of whatever you can do. But beyond some limit, then you have to accept these dualities. You don't complain or blame in this world, because this world is full of these kind of dualities. This is the nature of the world, and you have to accept this while you are living in this world. But how we could live in this world in all these dualities, Bhagavan is describing in the next shloka, 15th shloka. He talks about be unperturbed, samatva in all situations. Bhagavan is talking about samatva in several adhyayas of Geeta ji. In several areas, samatva is a very, very important guna, because only with samatva we can go ahead in our sadhana. Bhagavan says, Yam hina vyathayantyete purusham purusharashabha samadukha sukham dhiram somrutatvaya kalpate. Hey Purusharshava, this is the salutation to Arjuna, who is Shreshta, the best among all the great men. He says, you are a great man, you have already won over a lot of enemies. Now it is time to win over your own inner enemy, your mind, all your durbalya, all your weak-minded emotions. You have to win over it. Yamhina vyathayanti dhiram, the discriminating person, the wise person, dhira purusha. These dualities don't affect this kind of a wise person, one who is a viveki, one who does viveka, one who is discriminating, one who is a dhir purusha. These dualities don't affect them. They remain samadukha sukham sthiram. They remain sthira. They are equanimous in pleasure, pain, and all this. And that's why amrutatvaya kalpate. They are eligible to understand the amruta tattva. The amruta tattva is nothing else but our own eternal self, the essence, that is the atma jnana. Bhagavan says that eligibility only comes when you become samatva. You develop or you gain this samatva, being unperturbed, being the same, being equanimous in all these dualities of this world, the fame, the disrespect, the heat, the cold, the sukha, the dukkha. All these are ninda, stuti. All these dualities are there in the world. But one who remains unperturbed, that person becomes eligible to go on this sadhana, to go on this spiritual path, to understand this Atma Jnana, and to achieve the moksha or achieve the freedom from all these limitations that we are engrossed with. And this discriminative intellect or viveka, vichara is very, very important. And our Shastras gave a lot of importance to viveka and vichara. Only with this we can find or understand what is Bhagavan telling us, how we can develop samatva. Samatva can only be developed by understanding, which is given in our scriptures. And with this understanding, we have to having some control, restraint, indriya sanyama, mana sanyama, shama, dama, as it is called in our Shastra. And this is important. And only with this control, self-restraint, we can become swatantra, we can become independent from swachanda. Swachanda is independence without any control over our mind or our senses. And then from there, through our sadhana, using our viveka, vichara, our sermons, our understanding, and then with our own self-control and restraint, we can become samatva and we can become eligible for the Atma Jnana. So Bhagavan in the next shloka is showing Arjuna the reality of the existence. He says, Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayorapi drashtontvaha, svanayos tattva darshibihi. It's a little difficult shloka to understand because it gives the essence of the Vedanta philosophy. Our Guruji took almost 2 hours to explain us this shloka. I will not go into much detail, but I will just explain what is the crux Asata bhava na vidyate. There is no existence of asata bhava. Asata means illusion. Whatever is mithya, illusion, there is no bhava, there is no existence. Sataha abhavaha na vidyate. There is no non-existence of the reality. The reality is sata. Sata is the reality of this existence, and there is no abhava. There is no non-existence or absence of existence of this reality. It is always there. It has always been there. It will always remain now and in the future. It will always be there. It is eternal. Anayoho ubayoho antaha tattvadarshibhihi api drashtaha. The wise have seen this essence of both this, the sat, the reality, and the asat, the illusion, the mithya. And the understanding of this is from the principle of our Vedanta, which says that Brahma is the only Satya. It is only Satta. There is only one Satta, and that is the Brahma Satta, that is the existence. So the existence, the essence is only one, and all that we see in this world is like a mithya. Jagata mithya means it is an illusion. Illusion does not mean that it is not there. The right understanding is that what we see, it is not in that, that is not the real vision. There is something beyond this which we are unable to see. And that's how we give a lot of importance. So one essence, the Advitiya Brahma, what Vedanta calls is essence, as Brahma is a word that Vedanta uses to describe this Advitiya, which is one, which does not have a second. There is nothing similar to this one existence. Behind all this that we see, all the beings, the Jiva, the universe, the world, and the Ishvara, Jeev, Jagat, and Ishvara, behind this, the entire, there is one existence, and that essence is Brahma, which is the only Satta. That is the only Param Satta. Everything else, the Jagata, is all the Vyavaharik Satta. It is all the worldly, and that is not the real Satta. The real Chaitanya is just one. And the wise, the Tattvadarshi, Bhagavan says, has this real vision, the Yathartha vision or the Satya Darshana, because from the vision of the names and form that we are all engrossed in all the time, which is also called Ghata Buddhi, where we just see the Nama Rupa, which is the Jada part, and from this we have to do a spiritual journey and go to see the vision of the reality, the existence behind all these names and forms, the Astitva, the Chetana, the Chaitanya behind all this. And the most of the people believe that the world is real, and that's why we become attached to it. We become upset when people tell us something. We become miserable because we give a lot of importance to this. We see this as the only reality. But in essence, Vedanta tells us that this world is an illusion. It is asat, it is mithya. Mithya because it is not that it is not there. We can see it, it is there, but it is all transient. Everything is now, it is here. Agama paina, it comes and it goes. It is all transient, and that's why with this understanding, the wise person knows that the world is a perception. It is just a pratiti matra. It is just like a shadow. It is like a adhyasa, and that's why they remain in eternal bliss. They are not upset because of these dualities of the world. Now in the 17th verse, Bhagavan is telling Arjuna to see that indestructible essence, that tattva behind all that can be destroyed. Avinashitu tadvidhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinashamavyayasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. Bhagavan says, Avinashitu tadvidhi. No, Arjuna, that this you, Atma Tattva, cannot be described. It is Avinashi, cannot be described. Yena sarvamidam tatam. Everything is pervaded by this Atma Tattva. It is eternal, it is everywhere, it is sarvatra. All is pervaded by this. Vinasham avyayasya asya na kaschit kartum arhati. Nobody is capable of destroying this reality. It is a sat tattva. It cannot be destroyed by anything. In the further shlokas, Bhagavan will say, Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavaka. It cannot be destroyed by anything, this tattva. So, yen sarvam idam tatam, everything is pervaded by this sat tattva. We need to understand how we can see this. We can't see this normally because it is unseen. But our Vedanta tells us, Guruji tells us that whatever is there in the karana, the cause, which comes in the effect, the karya. And it is from this karya effect that we can make an understanding or anumana of the karana. That is how we can understand this tattva. There are two types of karana, which is called upadana karana, which is called the material cause. Say, for example, to make a pot, we use a clay or the mati to make this pot. And this is quite a common example in Vedanta. And the nimitta karana, the instrumental cause, is the kumbhar. The potter who makes the pot is the instrumental karana. So the material cause, the mati, is always there in the pot. because it is the upadana karana, where instrumental cause is not in the creation, in the effect or in the karya. So this instrumental cause is only Kumbhar makes, and then he is not needed. But the mati is always needed, because it is the mati that makes actually the pot. So with this understanding, we see that God, Paramatma, is the one, as it is described in our Shastra, by definition is Abhinna, Nimitta, Upadana, Karana, is Paramatma, is Ishvara. So with this is a one instrumental as well as a material cause. Now how can we understand this? In a lot of philosophies, most of the people believe that God is the creator of this universe. So he is the instrumental cause of this universe. But our Vedant or our Vedic philosophy is the only philosophy which tells us that God is not just the instrumental cause of the universe, like a kumbhar or a potter for the pot, but God is also the upadana karana, is also the material cause of the universe. Means God not just created the universe, but God also pervades or is present in the entire universe. And everything, there is just one existence, that you can call it an essence, you can call it tattva, you can call it God, you can call it Paramatma, you can call it Brahma, you can call it by any name. But there is just one, this Upadana Karana and the instrumental Karana. And the example that our scriptures give us is that of a spider. How spider creates a web from his own saliva. So spider is the instrumental cause of creating this web, and it uses his own saliva, so is the Upadana Karana of this web. And how he will gulf and keep it again, he will engulf it and make it, into itself. Similarly, at the Pralaya Kala, Paramatma takes his entire world and Pralaya into his own self. So that is how we can understand. And that's how we can understand how God is all pervading, omnipresent, sarvatra. And that Swarupa is the Nirgun Nirakar Swarupa as a Sat, Chit and the Ananda Swarupa. So Bhagavan is now talking about the physical body, which is Anatma, which is temporary. Bhagavan tells Arjuna, Antavanta ime deha nityasyukta sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmat yuddhasva bharata. Bhagavan says, these ime dehaha, he uses plural here, all these bodies, they are said to have antavanta, they are said to have come to an end. They are going to come to an end one day. They are all nashvanta. Bhagavan says, Nityasya sharirinaha. But the Shariri is one to whom this body belongs. That eternal Atma Tattva is one, is only one. Shariri is a singular. Bhagavan says it is Nitya, that eternal Shariri, that Nitya Atma Tattva is just one. Behind all these different bodies that you see, there is just one essence. Bhagavan says Anashinaha Aprameyasya. And this essence is Anashina. It cannot be destroyed. Nasha nahi ho sakta hai uska. It cannot be described, it is indestructible, and it is aprameyasya. Aprameyasya means it cannot be understood by any pramana. So pramana there are different types of pramana: pratyaksha pramana, anumana pramana, upalabdhi pramana, arthapatti pramana. These are all the pramana through which we gain knowledge. These are the evidence by which we understand the knowledge. Most commonly that we understand is the pratyaksha pramana, which is through our indriyas, like the chakshu. When the eyes see that this is a red color, then eyes will recognize, yes, it is a red color. So chakshu is the pramana for the color, for the rupa, and this is how we understand all the knowledge. But this Atma Tattva, Bhagavan is telling here, is aprameya. It cannot be understood by any pramana because it is beyond pramana. It is the Tattva through which all the pramanas understand all the knowledge. So this Atma Tattva cannot be understood by any pramana. That is what Bhagavan is saying. It is Swayam Prakasha, it enlightens everything. So how can it be understood by our normal mana, buddhi, ahankara, speech, words? It is not possible. So that's why it is called Aprameya Tattva. Tasmat Yuddhasva Bharata. By this understanding, Bhagavan tells Arjuna, that is why you should fight this battle, because the bodies will come to an end one day. But the Atma is going to be eternal. You must understand that it cannot be destroyed. It cannot be understood by any pramana. So by this understanding Atma and Atma Viveka, you must understand what is I and what is mine are always different. Bhagavan tells Arjuna that I always believe that this is my body. When I say this is my body, itself means that I and the body are two separate. They cannot be one. When I say my mind, my thoughts, it means that I and my mind, I and my thoughts are different. What is mine cannot be I, what is I cannot be mine. And with this understanding, we can understand what Vedanta is going to tell us, that how I am different from all these limitations or understanding that I have about myself, that I am the body, I am the mind, I am the thoughts, I am the indriya, I am the intellect, I am the buddhi, all this, that my understanding needs to be changed. So Bhagavan in the next verse tells about the principle of Upanishad. Bhagavan says, Ya enam vetti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. He says, one who believes that Atma kills and one who believes that Atma gets killed, both of them do not know that Atma never kills, neither it gets killed. Atma is eternal, it cannot be destroyed. And this is the understanding. Atma is akarta by Swarup, it is akarma. All the karta, karma, everything happens in anatma. It does not happen in Atma. And this is what, when I do some kind of an action, it is happening in my anatma. It is not happening in my Atma. My own self is akarta by Swarupa. It does not do, it is non-doer. All the karma, karta and everything, all the jnana, everything happens in the anatma part, and that is the understanding that Vedanta tells us. And the next shloka, Bhagavan tells Arjuna clearly that Atma is not born, it neither dies, it is changeless. It's a very famous shloka of Geeta ji. Na jayate briyate va kadachita nayam bhutva bhavita van bhuyah अजो नित्य शाश्वतो यम पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. न जायते, Atma is never born. न म्रियते, Atma never dies. Bhagavan says, न ayam bhutva bhavitavana bhuya. It was never produced in the past, never came into existence, and it will not be there that it is never going to be there in the future. It is always there. It is nitya. Ajah, Ajah means ajanma, it is unborn. Nitya means it is eternal. It is shashvata, it is always there, it is the same, it does not change. And puranaha, puranaha essentially means it is ancient. But here the meaning is that though it is very ancient, very old, but it is the same, it is ever fresh, it does not decay, there is no change in this Atma Tattva. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Even when the body is killed or destroyed or comes to an end or dies, Atma does not get killed, it does not change. Atma Tattva remains the same, it is eternal. That is what Bhagavan is telling Arjuna. All the confusion that we have in our mind is because the body and Atma gets mixed for us. The mind, our thoughts, our Atma, everything gets mixed. And this is all because of aviveka, because of absence of discriminative thinking, aviveka. And that is what Vedanta and Geeta ji and Upanishads is all about. It tells us that what clearly is Atma, what clearly is Anatma, and that Viveka is what Bhagavan is showing us here in these shlokas. The Param Jnana he is telling us how we can clearly see the difference, and that is what is called Viveka. Clearly we can differentiate what is Atma Tattva, what is the attributes, what are the nature, what is the characteristics, what is Anatma, what it is made up of, this Jada, this Chetana, how we can differentiate these two. In the next ensuing shlokas also, Bhagavan is going to describe a lot of things about Atma, Anatma, about death he will say, Vasansi Jirinani Atha Vihaya, and for Atma Tattva he will say, Nainam Chindanti Shastrani. In the next session we will see this continuation of the Jnana Updesha by none other than Lord Shree Krishna. We come to the end of this session. To summarize the session, the first 20 shlokas of the second Adhyaya, it opens with Sanjaya's statement. It describes Arjuna's condition, how is Krupaya Vishtam, how is Ashrupurna Kulekshanam. And then Krishna tells Arjuna to stop being a coward, sometimes even uses harsh words like Byam Masma Gamah Partha and Tishto Tishta Bharata, you prepare for war, he's telling him. But Arjuna gives many excuses. Guru na hatva hi mahanubhavam. How can I kill my Guru, my Drona? They are all respected, revered. I cannot go to war. And then Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. He accepts to be a student of Krishna. He says, you please teach me what I can do. Arjuna reiterates the faith and dispassion, Vairagya in Lord Krishna. And Sanjay then says that Arjuna has now says, Nayotsya, I will not fight. He's become silent. And then finally, in the 10th shloka, he describes that Krishna is now prahasanniya iva, smilingly starts his Updesha, his life message. And from the 11th to the 20th shlokas, we talked about the sacred teachings of Updesha of the indestructible, omnipresent Atma Tattva, and Bhagavan showing the clear differentiation between the body, the mind, the thoughts, all of Anatma, the Indriya, all this is the Anatma part. And Bhagavan is clearly doing this Viveka, Atma, Anatma Viveka in this Gnana Updesha of the second Adhyaya. With this, we come to the end of the first session. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parah Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.